I have a confession to make, and I'm really embarrassed about it. There is a shelf of books in my library that have been sitting here for 3+, 4+, 5+ years that I actively don't think I have interest in anymore. But something hasn't stopping me from unhauling these books just with no cause, and I think we need to change that. This shelf has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books I haven't read. They all exist in the more like fantasy realm than like a romantasy realm. They've been sitting on here for a long time. I'm not very interested in them, so we're gonna do a try a chapter tag today. So I'm gonna take all the books off the shelf, read the first chapter of every single book that's in this stack. That way I can determine whether I think I'm still actually interested in the book, like whether I've forgotten that I had a real interest in it, or whether it's something that really just needs to get off my shelf. And by the end of this video, hopefully we have kept some. Like, I want to not waste my money on books. I'm hoping that there are some that pique my interest, but then I'm also hoping that I can bless and release a couple, because a lot of this was before I picked up fantasy romance. A lot of these are slower. I just didn't know my taste in reading at this moment in time when I was buying books. But now I know my taste a lot more, and I can hone in onto like what I like in a book, and a first chapter for me is very informative. So I'm really hoping that this works well. I'm curious how long it's gonna take us. It is 10:30 in the morning currently. So intrigued if we'll get this done in a day, intrigued how long it'll take me. There are a lot of first chapters. I'm hoping a lot of them are short. And then I'm also hoping there are some like audiobook samples I can get, because I know like right now I'm hungry and I would really like to make some eggs. So I would like to have one soonish that has an audiobook sample so that I can get some food in. But let's get to reading, let's get to unhauling, and let's see how many of this stack I actually end up keeping at the end of the day. Oh, I also forgot to say we're starting with Daniel Abraham's A Shadow in Summer. I am actually predicting this will be an unhaul. I heard a lot about this on BookTube 3 to 4 years ago from people that like I personally don't align with their taste. So I'm shocked that I picked this up. But as I said, I just didn't know what I like to read. I didn't realize that slow, really like intellectual, that sounds terrible to say, stories just like aren't my vibe. Like if a story makes me feel dumb, I don't want to read it. And I know that this is a beast of a story, and it is slow and it just throws you in. So I'm definitely nervous about this one, but I'd rather see it go to a little free library or a used bookstore where someone who's actually going to appreciate this book can pick it up and read it, rather than it sit on my shelves and collect dust. I can unhaul this. I'm not even done the first chapter, and this is what I mean. I needed to try some of these and figure it out, because I've been holding on to this book for so long because the concept sounds good. Like even when I read the back, it sounds really good to me. However, I don't gel with this writing style, and so I think I should just get rid of it, because I don't see myself actively like trying to read this because I'm struggling with it. The way the words are written is not the best for my brain. Like this line, for example, I had to read a couple times. I realized that most high, they're halfway to your door, and for the ones we turn away, it's better most high. The grammatical error in that just really messed with my brain a little bit. And then on top of that, I feel like we are in characters' heads, but it's switching what head we're in a little bit. And I feel more like an observer. And the thing I have learned a lot about my reading taste is I want to feel like a part of the character. I don't want to just like watch everything unfold. I want to be like in the character's head. This doesn't mean it has to be first person, although I do think I really do enjoy first person. But there are third person narratives that don't feel as omniscient as I read them, and this one really feels like that, and I think I'll struggle with that. I think I already am struggling to figure out what character is what and who's who and like what to care about, and I'm only on page 10 technically, which in my opinion is enough because I typically like shorter chapters anyways, and the first chapter is a long one. But I think I can happily unhaul this one and we can pick up our second book. I am excited about this one, but I'm also really nervous because I hope I like this one. This is The 1,000 Names by Django Wexler. Django Wexler has written one of my favorite series of all time. The Ashes of the Sun trilogy is incredible, but I know this feels very different to that, and I think an author is great when they can write series so different. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna love all of their work, but I do think it shows such excellency in your craft when things can feel so different. So I'm intrigued by this one and hoping that it just gives the same vibe that Ashes of the Sun gave to me, and that I will enjoy it, because I really would like to read this because I loved Django Wexler's writing in the past, and I plan on picking up more from this author regardless. Thankfully, a shorter chapter. I love when a chapter's only 10 pages. The writing style is really good already. It definitely reminds me of Ashes of the Sun, so that's a plus, but I'm not sure I'm as invested into the actual like story. I just finished the first 10 pages and got to chapter 1. That was the prologue. And I think I want to keep this one. I might come back later and reevaluate because it's not something that I think I will gravitate towards anytime soon. But it's a certain type of like military story that I used to love. And I do think if I picked it up at the right time, could really enjoy this. There was a really cool scene with like necromancy in this that I really thought was interesting. Like there was like green smoke coming out of a girl's eyeballs. And I was very much invested. So I do think I'm interested in trying this. So I think we're gonna keep this one, which means we have another book to get to. Flames of Mira. Again, let's see how good I am at predicting. I'm also predicting an unhaul for this one because my friend Mel from Melanor Reads has actually attempted this and DNF'd it, and we do typically have similar taste. So I feel like if the first chapter is not grabbing me in any way, I'm not gonna hold on to this knowing that someone I trust also didn't like it because our taste is so similar. I do think I'm still gonna unhaul this even though I did like the first chapter. I didn't like it enough, I think, knowing that there is someone that didn't like it. Like it was okay, but it wasn't like 5 stars. It's like maybe if I read this it could be a 3-star, and I am trying to avoid 3 stars this year. I'm really trying to learn to DNF books and to just read the ones I love. So I do think that this is gonna go into the unhaul pile. I just can't see myself reaching for this on my shelves, which is why it's stuck there for 3 years. You know, like this is what got me into this whole mess in the first place, is I was keeping stories that I just wasn't going to reach for, which also makes me rethink the 1,000 Names a little bit. So I'm just gonna keep that in the yes pile for now, and we might have to come back to it. But honestly, these stories are also starting to run together because some of them are just like the same story over and over again, I'm not gonna lie. I obviously had a type of story that I put on this shelf, and that's kind of rough, but I do think I need food or something. I'm starting to get a headache. So I'm gonna look through the pile and I'm gonna see what has an audiobook that I can try a sample of and make myself some food and deal with my headache. Okay, I listened to the first chapter of The Grace of Kings while I made my eggs. Hold on, I like my eggs soft, so I need to crack these before I talk because I don't want them to overcook because I like them to be really runny. Do you like a runny egg? I feel like it's a hot take. Like some people love them, some people hate them, you know? But anyways, I have actually already listened to this first chapter before, so I was pretty confident going in that I was going to keep this one. I've heard such great things about this series. The thing is, I actually really do struggle with the audiobook. Michael Kramer narrates it, and he's a fantastic narrator, but he's just done so many books and so many of this style of story with like this style of character that now I kind of struggle when I hear him because I feel like I already know some stuff about the story and stuff like that. So I am very much interested in reading this one day. I'm not sure when that day is, so this could sit on my shelves for another 4 years, which is what I don't want. However, I think I am actively interested in trying this series at some point. I do own the first audiobook, so I think we are going to keep this one, even though I struggle through that first chapter, but I think it's because I need to physically read it and I just always keep trying the audiobook. I think next up on the docket, I would love to try some of the female written stories because the ones I've read so far have all been written by males. And honestly, 98% of my bookshelves and the books I love are written by females. They just tend to write a narrative tone and style that I like a little bit more. There are some male authors that I literally love their books from, like that's not what I'm saying. I just tend to gravitate towards female authors. I think I like the balance of romance and world building and character development, and typically they have female characters and I relate to those characters a little bit more. So these are the 4 that are on that shelf that are written by females. I'm gonna look to see if they have an audiobook. With my headache kind of forming, I did take some meds for it. Audio is actually better for me than having to stare at a piece of paper currently. So I'm hoping while the med kicks in, I can try a sample of one of these and then read some more physical books. I And I need to eat my eggies. I ended up listening to a little bit of The Raven Tower, which is the book that has been on my TBR the longest. Like, this has sat on my TBR since before BookTube. I picked it up because the back of the book sounded good. I didn't even listen to very much of the sample, and I automatically know that I should have never picked this book up. I could have just read the first page and I should have known, because it uses you. So the first line of the story is, I first saw you when you rode in the forest, past the cluster of tall, bulge-eyed offering stakes that marked the edge of the forest, your horse at a walk. You rode beside Mawat. I think I'm really not going to enjoy that stylistic choice. When I've read it in the past, I didn't really enjoy it, and I just think that that will make me struggle too much with this story, and the fact that it sat on my shelf without me knowing that for 5 years probably means I should unhaul this. And then on top of that, it doesn't have chapters, which is such a weird thing for someone to complain about, but it is something that I want in my stories. So instead of chapters, there's just like a little raven that marks like the end of this passage, but there are no actual chapters in this. And as someone who likes to switch between physical, between audio, between ebook, between like doing all these things, that would make this such a struggle for me to read, because I rarely sit down and read a book in one format these days. And then also just like enjoyment wise, I don't know what it is, but like I like chapters. I want to finish chapters. They give me endorphins. I think that they can make a book a little bit more enjoyable. Like, I am someone who like looks to see how long till the next chapter, and I think it adds to like the achievements of me reading a book, which is kind of wild to say because like I love reading regardless. And not to say that if a book never had chapters, I'm never gonna read it, but I do prefer chapters. And I think that on top of all the other things, and the fact that I didn't enjoy the first like 4 pages that I read because I was just like, why are we talking about you? Like, I'm not in this story. I just think I would really struggle to connect to any characters with that POV. And so I think that this is a miss for me. I am gonna sit down and I'm gonna physically read the first chapter of Scorpica now. As I said, I'm someone who looks at chapters, and this chapter is like 7 pages long, and that's a really good length for me in a chapter. I don't like long chapters. I like the endorphins of like finishing a chapter, I think. Like, it makes me want to read more. And sometimes when I'm reading a long chapter, even if I'm really loving the book, I'm like, what if I just put this down right now? But like, I like the accomplishment of finishing a chapter, and I don't know what that says about me and my ADHD brain, but I think it says something. I picked this one up on a whim once, just because it's about a female-led story. It's about like a matriarchy and things like that, and I'm very interested. I always love stories circled around women, the power women have, and things like that. So I'm hoping that this will be a win. Cross your fingers for me. I just read the little prologue, which is literally only 2 chapters, so I am going to continue and I'm going to read the first chapter. But I liked that prologue. It really set the scene quite a bit. These 5 kingdoms that had so much life, people were like giving birth constantly, hundreds of babies a day, to then there being a drought of no girls, not a single girl for 5 years, and in a queendom, that's probably a big deal. So very invested in that first little prologue. So let's read chapter 1. This is looking good. Okay, I'm done chapter 1, and I can say that I am intrigued. I'm very much intrigued by this. The first 14 pages have me locked in. There's like a sacrifice that happened. I was not expecting that. We've learned a lot about like the different queendoms, and I'm definitely very, very, very interested. So I will definitely be keeping this one. I think that I would prefer to read this sooner rather than later too. So that is a really good feeling, and that's why we're doing this. So it feels good that like it's working, you know? Like, I realized that I really should read this. I've heard nothing about this series, to be honest. Like, nobody ever talks about it. I should really look into if the sequels came out because of that. Because I really hope they did, because I don't want to read a book and then not have the sequels. That would be like heartbreaking. But I do find like most of the time sequels do come out. They just might not have gotten reviewed because I heard literally no one talk about this. So that is exciting. We need to pick up another book. I think I'm gonna go pick up a book downstairs by a male author, because I feel like these last 2 female written books have felt so different from each other. And I was struggling with the men book, feeling very similar to each other. So I think if I pick up a guy book and then a female written book, you know, we made a really, really good dent. Actually, this is all we have left. And a time check for us, it's 12 o'clock. So an hour and a half got me halfway through pretty much, which means I can do this all today. I believe in myself. Also, someone is mowing and you probably can hear it. These are all indie stories. I think I'm most excited for No Heart for a Thief, and I'm most nervous for these two. All 4 of these books could be wins or could be misses. Like, I'm not really finding myself leaning one way or the other with any of these. Okay, I think I'm gonna keep this one as well. I actually ended up reading the first full chapter and then the first page of the second chapter in this because there was a time jump, so I just wanted to make sure that I would still like it with like the new POV and the new time jump, because I have been swindled before by a POV switch. So I did really enjoy this one. I don't have a lot of thoughts on it. Excited. This is one of the ones I thought that I was going to like. I think I should still read the first chapter of Seeds of War just to see if I'm actually interested in it. But I did forget that I do have this copy, which was signed and like personalized to me. Like there's like a little message, and I forgot that the author sent this to me and did that. And so I don't think that there's any way that I am getting rid of this book, because I just think that was so sweet and something like very memorable. Obviously I forgot about it, but like I do now remember getting this book and how much the author was very supportive of me when I was in like SBFBO as a judge and stuff, and always said like he'd love for me to like blurb his book. So I don't think there's a possibility that I will unhaul this, especially because I do really love this cover, but I should probably read it still just to tell you if I'm actually interested in it or not. Okay, yes, I will also be keeping this one. I did actually really enjoy that first chapter. At the front of the book, we get a little page with these like monsters, and we did actually learn about 2 of them within the first chapter, and that has me very intrigued. I love a type of creature in a story. It's part of what I loved about Shield of Sparrows, and obviously this is not going to be like Shield of Sparrows. It's not a romantic fantasy in any way, but I do like that element, and I found it really interesting to learn about them and what they did. And within this first chapter, we're following our character who is trying to sell something to these like soldiers that have came, and we watch her like show them around her like home. But then at the end they introduce an elixir, and something I've always loved in stories is like ingestion magic. This elixir makes them stronger and faster at healing and things like that, but you can get addicted to it. So I'm very interested in seeing what that means for the entire story, and I'm very much intrigued. I know we follow 3 characters, so that was just one of the characters, and following 3 characters is also something I really love. I like the alternating POVs of it, so I think I'm definitely excited and will be keeping this one. The keep pile is getting bigger, and I was not expecting it, to be honest. I was like, oh, am I gonna unhaul all of these? You know what? I'm having good luck, so let's pick up another one of these indie ones that's right in front of me. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in this one. That prologue took me by surprise. Holy crap. I could keep reading this right now, I'm not gonna lie. That was like instantly invested. We're watching a war happen, and we're watching our main character have to save a bunch of kids in the middle of a battlefield, and then we're kind of learning about the opposite sides and the magic system and everything as that happens. And I think it was really, really well done. I really liked the writing. I liked the characterization. Definitely excited, and we'll get back to this one. The indies are hitting. Oh my gosh, I'm keeping so many of these. But that's really exciting. I think we just keep going, right? And we just read Of Thieves and Shadows, which gets us through all 4 of those indie books. I do actually need to apologize because this is actually written by a woman, and I have been putting it in my written by a man pile, but I was on Goodreads and I was like, oh, which is always amazing. I love seeing more females write in fantasy, especially these like more epic fantasies. However, I didn't even finish the first chapter for this one, and I knew I didn't want it. Again, it was just the writing style. It was like in one ear, out the other for me, and I wasn't intrigued. As I read more, I've realized how instant I can vibe with a writing style, and if I don't vibe with it, I tend to pick the book apart a little bit more. So if I'm not liking the writing style, chances are I won't enjoy the book as much. So I'm gonna bless and release it, and especially because it's indie, I can give it somewhere that someone might pick it up because this is a really cool cover and go, this is my new favorite book, you know? I think I'm gonna prep Din Din. I have some salmon and some shrimp to marinate for me and Nick, and then maybe make us some lunch. And I picked up the Stone Knife audiobook on Hoopla, so we're going to listen to the first chapter of this. We are almost done with the shelf. That's kind of exciting because I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders already, because I've stared at the shelf so often being like, should I just unhaul all these books? And this really did make progress, letting me know what I'm interested in and what I'm not, and it feels good to have that progress. I ended up listening to 2 chapters of The Stone Knife. I was just hands deep in raw shrimp, so I just kept listening. It ended up not doing the book very much of a favor, I'm not going to lie. I actually really did enjoy the first chapter. I thought that was really interesting. There's these things called the drowned that kind of reminded me of crocodiles, and so I thought that was really unique and cool as we saw our main character like fight against one essentially, or see like how they affect society and the things they do because of that. But then I got to the second chapter and I actually ended up hating the second chapter and not enjoying that at all. So now I am conflicted of whether I should continue on or not in this story. Like, is it worth keeping on my shelves? Or do I maybe just pick it up some point using the audiobook, because I did really like the audiobook and don't worry about having a copy on my shelves, or because I do have space on my shelves. Like, I have so much room. I just recently moved in this year and I ended up going from like 4 shelves to 10 shelves. So like I have the room. It's not like I need to be getting rid of things. It's just that I have a goal to only have books that I'm actively interested in or have loved on my shelves, and I'm trying to not let things sit there. So, do I think I will be actively interested in this one is really the question, and I think I need to think on this one a little bit, because this is a harder decision for me, because that second chapter makes me not want to read it, but then I think back to how invested I was in the first chapter, and I'm like, I should continue reading it. I thought there was a lot in this about like cool cultures and stuff, so I definitely found myself wanting to learn more about like the political space and all of that within this story within that first chapter, and the second chapter does do that, so in theory I should like it. I just really didn't like the point of view we got, but maybe that would get better as I got like more accustomed to it. This one's a hard one for me, I think. Well, we have one left, and I think I have to physically read it because I don't think I have access to the audiobook anywhere without like buying it, and I don't want to do that. So wish me luck, and then I'll also probably let you know my decision on the Stone Knife as well. It is 2:35 now, so it took me roughly 4 hours to get through all of these, which honestly is not bad considering it's 12 books. The Obsidian Tower was our final read, and I lied to you, I ended up listening to it. I actually had access to it on Audible, so I decided to listen to the first chapter. I ended up listening to the first and second chapter because I was cooking lunch, and I have decided to keep this one. I think after listening to this one and realizing how much more interested I was in the writing style and everything of this, I have decided to get rid of the Stone Knife. I just think that I will put this back on my shelf and remember that second chapter too much and not want to pick it up, even though the first chapter was interesting. I think that this one just won't get read for so long. And you know what? I'm human. I can change my mind in 2 years and end up rehauling this or something like that. That's okay, but for now, in my mental clarity and my mental like peace of the library, we're really trying to focus on things I actively want to read. I know as soon as I started doing TBR redemption and trying to get down my physical TBR and get the ones that have been on there for 4 years off, I started feeling like I could buy books again, and I started feeling like no pressure in like buying books because I wasn't worried about my physical TBR. I don't want to have a huge physical TBR. I want it to be around 100 books, but I want it to be books I'm actively interested in. And then at the same time, after reading all the ones I decided to keep, I actually decided to unhaul the 1,000 Names. After seeing my reactions to the other ones, this again will be something that just sits on my shelf and that I'm mostly keeping because I like the author, not necessarily because of my like actual interest. Yes, there was interesting things that happened in here, but even after reading all of the other books, this one has kind of left my brain already, versus there's other ones I've read today that I'm still really excited to keep reading, versus this one I already was like, man, I never have to read chapter 2. So I think that that's a sign to unhaul it. In the end, out of the 12 books I read the first chapter of today, I ended up keeping 6 of them, and I ended up unhauling 6 of them, which is wild that it came out to be that way. It was not planned in any way, but I feel really happy about both my piles that I have going on here. I am excited for the ones that I kept. I'm really actively excited to read these. They might sit on my shelves longer than I anticipate, but that's okay because now I know that I'm still actively interested in them, even though I purchased them 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, versus this side, I know I'm not actively interested in them, and that feels really good just to bless and release, in my opinion. I really enjoyed doing this actually. It was a lot of work and a lot of just like buckling down, but I feel really good about it. And the results shocked me more than I expected, and I think have cemented the fact that there is value in trying stories, because I think I could have unhauled almost all of these at the start of this video just based off of how I was feeling, and at the end of it half is pretty good to have kept. So I'm trying to look around to see if there's any other shelves that I should do this with. There's definitely some like books I should probably try, but I don't think I have any other shelf that sticks out to me that's like, these are all books that I'm unsure about. Let me know which ones out of the 6 you saw me keep you would like to see me prioritize, or if you're interested in my thoughts on any of them, really just in general. I think Soul Cage and Scorpica are really calling my name right now. Those first chapters really stuck out to me. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me, is there a scorpion emoji? Something with a stinger. And I'll leave my other TBR redemption episodes on the screen for you to check out if you want to see some of the progress I've made this year on reading my physical TBR. And I hope you have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.